The courtroom was packed, tension thick in the air as Senator JD Vance stepped inside. He wasn't on trial, but his presence sent waves through the room. Whispers floated from every corner. Something big was about to happen. At the bench sat Judge Malcolm Horner, a man known for his arrogance and rumored political biases. His record was tainted with whispers of corruption, but nothing had ever stuck. Today, he was presiding over a critical federal case. As Vance took his seat in the gallery, Judge Horner's eyes locked onto him with an unmistakable glare. You could feel the contempt. Vance leaned forward slightly, unshaken, his presence deliberate and unbothered. The case itself involved a whistleblower exposing financial misconduct connected to a federal contract. But under the surface, it was much more. Deep state money, quiet campaign deals, and Horner's fingerprints were allegedly all over it. As the opening arguments began, Horner continuously interrupted the prosecution. Every objection from the defense was sustained. It was clear he was stacking the deck. JD Vance, a longtime critic of judicial corruption, watched closely, taking notes. Reporters in the back scribbled down his reactions. Cameras flashed subtly, capturing every tense moment. When the lead prosecutor tried to introduce critical evidence, bank transfers tied to shell companies, Judge Horner scoffed. Irrelevant and speculative, he snapped, banging his gavel. Vance leaned over to a colleague, whispering something that made the judge pause. Horner glared. Is there a problem, Senator Vance? He asked coldly, even though Vance hadn't said a word to him directly. JD looked up. Calm. Just observing, Your Honor, he replied. His tone was level, but loaded. The judge wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone with influence and a reputation for rooting out corruption. A murmur rippled through the room. Cameras zoomed in. The judge adjusted his robe, visibly irritated. Perhaps the senator should focus on politics, not my courtroom, he sneered. That was the first public insult. It echoed through the chamber. Vance didn't flinch. His eyes narrowed, but he remained silent. The judge had taken the bait, and everyone knew it. Judge Horner continued the hearing, but he was distracted now. His snide comments increased. He interrupted witnesses. At one point, he referred to JD Vance as a political parasite. Gasps filled the courtroom. Even the stenographer paused. Was that even allowed? Could a judge make personal attacks from the bench? Vance finally stood. Your Honor, he said, voice firm, I will not be insulted while observing a public proceeding. This is inappropriate and unethical. Judge Horner stood too, slamming his gavel. You're out of order, Senator. He barked. This is my courtroom. But Vance remained standing. And it's the people's justice, he responded. Which is why the Department of Justice is here today, to observe you. The room froze. Murmurs became stunned silence. Then, from the back of the courtroom, 3 suited federal agents stepped forward. Judge Horner's face turned pale. What is this? He demanded, voice cracking. He looked around, searching for an ally, but found none. The agents approached the bench. One pulled out a file. Judge Malcolm Horner, you are under federal investigation for obstruction of justice, bribery, and conspiracy. Horner recoiled. You can't do this. I'm a sitting judge. We can, the agent replied, handing him a warrant. You've manipulated cases, suppressed evidence, and received payments from entities tied to this trial. Vance sat back down, calmly folding his hands. The courtroom erupted in controlled chaos. Lawyers stood. Reporters typed. Frantically. Horner's voice cracked again. This is a political stunt. He yelled. You're doing this because of him. He pointed at Vance, red-faced. Vance stood again. I didn't order this, he said evenly. But I certainly encouraged the investigation. The American people deserve judges they can trust. As Horner was handcuffed, he cursed under his breath. This isn't over, he spat. I know names. I know everything. The agents began leading him toward the exit. We'll be glad to hear all about it, one of them said dryly. In custody. The crowd began to applaud, quiet at first, then louder. Years of rumors about Horner had finally caught up to him. JD Vance nodded toward the lead prosecutor. Continue the case, he said. Justice should never be derailed by corruption. Reporters swarmed Vance as he stepped outside the courthouse. Senator, did you know this would happen today? One asked. I suspected, he replied. I pushed for transparency. That's what brought this to light. News outlets across the country exploded with headlines. Corrupt judge arrested in courtroom, JD Vance targeted, then vindicated. Horner's arrest sparked a wider investigation. Subpoenas were issued to several lobbyists and corporate donors. Whistleblowers came forward, emboldened by the courtroom drama. "We were silenced before," one said. "Not anymore." Horner's financial records revealed offshore accounts, luxury gifts, and kickbacks from government contractors. The DOJ confirmed Horner had been under quiet surveillance for months, but Vance's presence accelerated the final step. Political rivals tried to spin it, but the public wasn't buying it. Vance's approval ratings surged overnight. Meanwhile, Horner was denied bail. The court deemed him a flight risk and placed him under federal watch. In prison, Horner reportedly tried to make deals, naming other judges and political operatives. "He's singing," one investigator told the press. "We're about to uncover something much bigger." Vance held a press conference days later. "This is not about one man," he said. "It's about restoring faith in the system." He called for a national judicial audit. "If corruption hides in robes," he said, "then sunlight must shine brighter." Critics accused him of fee tricks. But even some skeptics admitted, what happened in that courtroom was historic. Legal scholars debated the ethics of Horner's courtroom behavior for weeks. "It wasn't just misconduct, it was vengeance," said one. Horner had presided over dozens of politically sensitive cases. Now, all of them were under review. Families wronged by his decisions began coming forward. "We lost everything because of him," one woman wept. JD Vance promised action. "Every case he touched will be re-examined. Justice delayed is still justice possible." Meanwhile, Horner's allies scrambled. Emails were leaked. Donations tracked. The web widened. In Washington, calls grew louder for judicial term limits and stronger oversight mechanisms. "No one man should have this much unchecked power," said Vance during a Senate hearing. "Not anymore." Lawmakers from both parties joined the conversation. Some reluctantly, others enthusiastically. The media dubbed it, the Horner Reckoning. Social media exploded with hashtags demanding accountability in the courts. JD Vance became a symbol of anti-corruption reform. Not by choice, but by standing his ground. That single moment, where a judge insulted him in open court, became the catalyst for something national. Vance said later, "I didn't go there to provoke anyone. I went to observe justice. Instead, I saw power abused." Horner's trial began months later. The courtroom was different this time. No gavel slams, no arrogance. He pleaded not guilty. But evidence was overwhelming: paper trails, testimonies, surveillance. Vance testified too, calmly recounting the moment Horner lost control. He wasn't just corrupt, Vance said. He was angry that someone was watching. The jury deliberated for just 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Horner was sentenced to 24 years in federal prison. No parole. As he was led away, he stared at Vance in the gallery, but this time, no words were exchanged. JD stood and exited quietly. No victory lap. No grand speech. But the public saw it differently. They saw justice, finally delivered. Congress passed the Judicial Integrity Act months later. Bipartisan support. Vance helped write it. The act created independent oversight panels, financial disclosure requirements, and term limits for lifetime appointees. Across the nation, other judges resigned quietly. Some were investigated. Others adjusted their behavior. Legal schools began teaching, the Horner case is a turning point in modern judicial accountability. JD Vance's name was cemented in that narrative, not as a politician, but as a watchdog who didn't blink. Years later, a documentary aired, In the Courtroom's Shadow, The Fall of Judge Horner. It opened with that infamous quote, "You're out of order, Senator." Followed by Vance's calm stare. The film won awards. And in every frame, the lesson was clear: corruption survives in silence. Exposure kills it. JD Vance never gloated. He just kept working, visiting courthouses, meeting whistleblowers, writing policy. But he once admitted in an interview, that day, it changed everything. It reminded the public that justice must be defended, even from within the system itself. And that even when power wears a robe, it can be checked, challenged, and removed. The arrest video of Judge Horner became one of the most viewed political clips online. Young law students posted it with captions, "Why we fight." Vance's staff later revealed he never planned to speak that day. He just couldn't stay silent. And thanks to that silence broken, one of the most corrupt judges in America now sat behind bars, for good.